Elevate yourself. Empower others. Welcome to Coach Approach Podcast. Nikilette, I'm really happy we're doing this. In our pre-call, you shared something powerful things. Mindset as the root, boundaries as self-respect, and this idea of awakening to your power.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And for people listening, this isn't about positive thinking or motivational slogans. This is about inner leadership, the body, the nervous system, and real change.
Yeah.
Before we go deep, how would you introduce yourself in one sentence to someone who's never heard of you?
That's such a good question. Never been asked that question. Um, I really feel that it's helping you to know yourself
Mm.
from from body, mind, and spirit. That's really what it is that I do, is I help people to understand themselves, body, mind, and spirit, and get to really know who they are. Because a lot of people, um, like we talked before, people have been programmed and trained to think that they are who they are because of their upbringing and the people that have been in their lives or the expectations that have been put upon them. And my goal is to break those chains and for you to really discover who you are beneath all of those identities and masks.
You said something that hit me. You either the cause or the effect. Can you take us into the moment in your life when you realized I've been living as the effect and I'm ready to take radical responsibility?
Yeah, that it actually really powerful moment. Um, it was before I understood the cause and effect piece of it, but it was actually my youngest son. He really brought to light a lot of things that I had been doing in the past in our relationship when he was growing up. And the things that he said, like, you shouldn't have had children, you weren't ready, you were too immature, and kind of just like rattling all this really tough stuff to hear from your own child that you love and care for so much. And I said, you're right, because I wasn't equipped to care for my kids in a way that was a powerful, encouraging experience for them, because I was always in my head about all of the things that I was doing wrong and how I was no good and how I was a loser and I just wasn't good enough and I didn't do things right. I was constantly in a state of questioning myself and just self-loathing. And when he said that to me, I was able to be like, you're right. And I took radical responsibility. And I think that really shocked him, to be honest. It kind of like threw him off guard, because in the past, I've been really defensive about, well, I did my best and this is what I knew. And it wasn't about blame or defense anymore. It was about accepting my responsibility, because I put other things before my children. I put relationships and, wanting to have a marriage and thinking that that was for their benefit. And maybe that was part of it at the time, but there was a lot of selfishness that was going on because I was just in here all the time and trying to have someone else figure it out instead of me being the one that figured it out. I figured somebody else was the answer, that if I had a relationship or a marriage that was really good, and then they'd have the father that they wanted and needed, and I could be the mom because I'd have the support financially as well as having a powerful relationship for them to look at us as an example. And so all of these things that I wanted and desired were there, but the reasons behind them, the way I shouldn't say the reasons, but the way I was going about it was actually very hurtful and painful to my children, because I couldn't just be present with them. I couldn't be in the moment with them. And if I had a moment where we were having fun,
Mm.
it felt like this isn't real. It's not going to last. It's just a temporary thing. I couldn't even be in the moment long enough really to thoroughly enjoy it and be for them what they truly needed as a mom. I mean, they got what they got, everything happens for a reason. And I know that, but looking back on it, do I have regrets? I don't have regrets because I am who I am today and I can be who I need to be for them today. How they feel, it's different between the two children because each child has a different experience.
Hmm.
They each child got a different mother, basically. They got a different parent because each child is different. They're individuals. So
I'm interested, what was the cost of staying in the victim loop? Let's call it victim loop.
in
What?
the victim loop.
Yeah, yeah.
So the cost of that, oh man. So it was a lot of, like I said, a lot of self-loathing. It was always, everything was happening to me.
Hmm.
Everything was, it wasn't like I wasn't looking at it as this is good for me. I was looking at, I this is happening to me. I was a victim of domestic violence. I was went through those kinds of things in my relationships. And then consequently, because of that relationship, I ended up being on welfare and being a victim. Now I don't have money. I'm so poor and I have to raise these children and this poor me mentality. And it's like, well, you chose it.
Mm.
I chose that path. And that's where I was actually the effect of everything. And when, to your point before, when I became the cause in that moment of seeing my child saying these things to me and showing me, being this incredible mirror to me, then I was the cause. I was actually able to take responsibility and change how I show up in life, change how I show up in my relationships and with my children, with my husband, and just in general with myself, how I treat myself, what I do for myself, the way I speak to myself, and that victim loop you were speaking of, like that thought process constantly running in the background. It was like, you're no good, you suck, you're a loser, you're a terrible mom, all of these things. And like, you're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to do anything. Nothing is ever good enough. All of that stuff constantly rolling around in my head,
Hmm.
and I didn't know how to get out of that. That was just my norm every day.
And in that moment when you take the radical responsibility, what did you have to admit to yourself that was uncomfortable?
Oh, that things were the way they were because of the decisions that I made,
Mm.
that I was living the life I was living because of my choices. And that was painful, but it was liberating at the
Hmm.
same time. It's like that double-edged sword, cuts going in and it cuts coming out, but it gets rid of all the garbage that's inside of you. And that's kind of like how I thought of it, is like, it's really painful, it's really hard, but it was good. It felt liberating. Like I was owning who I was. I wasn't hiding anymore or trying to be something I wasn't. I wasn't trying to justify or blame anybody. It was, this is who I am, and it's accepting myself who I am. And how other people feel about me, I don't have control over that. They feel the way they feel about me, but how I feel about myself and the way I treat myself, that shifted and changed a lot.
Hmm.
There were different phases of it. It wasn't like just a switch overnight. There were things that happened in phases.
And when you are reflecting on those moments, what changed first? Your thoughts, your behaviors, or your identity?
That's a great question, because it was kind of like I worked from the outside in.
Hmm.
And the outside stuff, where I had a food addiction for 40 years. So I started to stop drinking alcohol. I started changing the way I was eating, and all of these outward things, behaviors, basically, is what I was doing. So I'm like taking care of the body better. And because I dropped the alcohol, I was able to think clearer and start to do things physically, that it was easier. It wasn't so challenging. And during 2020 is when I was in an accident in January, sustained a severe concussion, and I had concussion headache for a year and a half. And in that year and a half, in March of 2020 is when I quit the drinking. And then I ended up in August finding a program that was like a challenge. And I always love challenges. I think they're so much fun to do. And it's for 75 days. It's called 75 Hard. And I did that challenge, and I was about 18 days in, and I was recording an Instagram, and I was like, I don't like this. This is out of my comfort zone. I don't
Mm,
want to do this, because that's the thing. I'd always been in comfort, but it really wasn't real comfort. It was actually discomfort I was really in, but it's what I kind of knew my whole life. And as I'm going through this talking, because in 75 Hard, there's no excuses. You've committed to something and you do it. And it was literally at that moment when I was talking about how I didn't want to do this and how hard it was, and I'm out of my comfort zone, but I committed to it and I'm doing it. It was something in my mind, and it's actually captured on video where something shifted, where like, well, I can do this. And I really had a lot of, because I was left alone in the challenge I was doing with someone, they abandoned it. So here I am alone. I don't have the support anymore. So that was even like really telling of like, what is your character? Who are you? Who do you want to be in this moment? Like, who are you going to be?
mm,
And so I decided to flip the script. And that was when for the first time, I felt like I had control over the looping thoughts in my mind, and I just changed it like, well, what can I do? What? And it seems so simple. I mean, it just seems so easy. But when you've been trapped inside this prison in your head for so long, that one little thing, what can I do? It freed me out. And it helped me to realize, well, I have a lot of options and I can
mm,
choose what I want to do in this moment. I can either crumble and give up and not do it any longer, or I can make a choice to make this something that becomes part of who I am. And that's what I chose. I chose to become a different person, literally in that moment, just around the thought process. And then later, as time went on in 2021, I got more into the spirit, the embodying of it and spirit part of it, where things started coming into much more alignment. And I actually I've done 75 Hard 3 different times. So, and I'm gonna actually do it again. I want to do it again. I have a friend that was like, we want to do it again. So, that's my goal, is to do that again. But it really is, that was the pivotal moment for me. And that sent me down a journey where it wasn't so much about the vanity of how I looked anymore. It was about my health and about my well-being of my heart, of my soul, of my mind and body, all of it together. So
mm.
very powerful moment. And I'm crying in the video too. Not ugly crying though, so that was good.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with that personally, and because as an ex-athlete, I lived in performance mode, discipline, goals, pressure until my system was drained. The shift for me wasn't motivation, it was awareness. You're talking about
Yeah.
the awareness, and I became aware and I saw these all options.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
the great thing to happen. A lot of people here, you create your reality and they
Mm-hmm.
feel blamed, especially people who've been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say this in a way that empowers without shaming?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was in a domestic violence relationship, and you could, it was, I know for myself, I can speak for myself. I can't speak for every single person, but what I can say for myself that maybe people can relate to is that I witnessed things when I grew up, and I was trained to be a victim. I was trained to be disempowered, by the people that I saw in my life that gave up their power to others and gave up
Mhm.
their life to saying, "Hey, you know what? Without you, I'm nothing." Kind of attitude or thought process, and a lot of reliance on others to make things right, like I mentioned earlier. And the constant bullying I dealt with in school, and the body shaming I received from my father. And all of these things, did I ask for that? No, I didn't ask for that, but I was living what I learned. And so
Mm.
when I recognized that I was living what I learned, because I had different things in my head of like what a relationship was, and what I was living wasn't the relationship that I had in my head. It wasn't equating. And when I was told that I love you was said by my parents and other people, but then the behaviors weren't reflecting those words and what they meant to me, how I saw love being, which was very unconditional and very accepting and not judgmental and not hurting. It was very conflicting for me. And so I was living out what I learned. And over the years, I started and I'm talking about, for me, it's been in the last 5 years for me. Other people, I've seen it happen when they're younger, but this is for me. What really happened is in the later years that I recognized that different things happened to my parents that made them the way they were. And so all it was this cascade effect. And so when I understood that this was like, I was trained to be this way, I was coached, if you will, to be this way and conditioned to think in these ways, then it wasn't about how a terrible person I was. It was like, well, okay, this is what I learned. I'm living what I learned. And not everybody goes through this. Some people have greater awareness earlier. I did not. I had it later, and that's okay. When I saw it, then I could change it. And I did. And so I don't feel regret because it's made me into who I am today. And all of the things that I went through, the body shaming, the addictions, the abuse and all that, I now help people with that because I understand it. And I'm not coming from a place of like I was in school and I learned it. This is life experiences that I can now help others with so they don't have to go through all of that stuff. And if they've been through things and they have someone that really understands them and has come out the other side of it. And in relationship, very specifically with my husband, I have the person that idea that I have that individual. That is my husband now. And the relationship I have with my mother, which was, I was telling you about like how it was all this, victim stuff and drama, trauma, that has changed because me taking responsibility and reflecting to her that, hey, I learned it from you. These are the things I learned from you. There's healing going on there. We're able to heal from this and have a greater relationship. So once you start to accept yourself and not from a place of like, I'm such a bad person, but these are the choices that I made. And the reason
Mm.
why I learned these from people, and it's not to blame those people, it's to be like, I learned these things. These were lessons for me to learn so I can grow into the person that I need to be for this world. So it's not about blaming anybody. It's about the radical responsibility we were talking about earlier, but it's understanding why, where it came from. And there are certain things that are in our makeup and in our design that come into play that also kind of mold us in a way, whether we're conscious of it or not. And that, when I recognized those things, that was another thing that kind of helped me along my journey to realize I'm not being my authentic self. I'm not showing up as who I am. I'm showing up with this mask and this identity that I've cultivated over the years that isn't truly who I am. And then I'm able to break all that stuff down, get rid of those masks and not show up as people want me to be or how I think they want me to be, but to show up as myself truly.
Can you explain what's the difference between this happened to me and this is my identity?
So the things that happen to me. I choose, do I want that to be who I am? I choose, do I want to be this victim? And that's an identity. I'm a victim, or I'm a breast cancer survivor. I went through breast cancer. I'm a breast cancer survivor. Do I cling and hold on to that identity? Or is that something that happened in my life
Mm.
for me, actually? So
Understand.
that's a huge difference. Do I cling on to the identity that I am a breast cancer survivor? I, when you say I am, those are very powerful words. I don't think of myself as a survivor. I'm a thriver. I've moved beyond that. That was a point in time in my life. It doesn't make me who I am. It's something that I experienced.
When we talk about mindset, you said mindset is where everything starts. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, behavior creates life. So, what's the real method to reprogram the mind when someone's being conditioned for decades?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I think it's understanding who you are and having some of the basic foundational pieces coming in. That's really what helped me. I started to understand my human design. That was part of it. And that gave me a little bit of a foundation. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I do that. Oh, that kind of explains this. And it's not a box that I was put in. It was actually something that liberated me just to help me understand myself better. And then moving into out of the design pieces, but then applying those things. It's applying those foundational things that I learned, and that was the hardest part is application and actually embodiment, because you can have it all up here like a scholar. You can learn things at school, right? But unless you're embodying them, the transformation is not going to happen. You can have all this knowledge and spout out all these details, but actually understanding it, living it, embodying it, and help. I mean, for me, it's helping others. It may not be that way for other people, but if you do embody that, it actually is a ripple effect. So it does affect other people that are in your impact field at least. So it makes your world a better place. Now, it may seem at first that it doesn't, because it's so counterintuitive to the way you've been for a long time, the way you've been thinking, the way you've been feeling. All of these things start to change, and people are like, what's going on with you? Wait a minute, you used to, you know, do whenever I asked you to do something, you do it. There was no like pushback. There was no saying no. It was always yes, people pleasing and all of this stuff that was going on. And so now, and it's not a no to someone else is a yes to yourself. And a yes to someone else is a no to you. And if you think of it in those terms, when it comes to boundaries specifically, I'm talking about, it's not just the boundaries with other people's as these big walls. I don't think it's like, gray rocking people and all of that. It's not about that. It's about what you allow for in your life, how you want to live your life. What feels right for you is not necessarily going to be the same for everybody else. And especially with family and friends, they've known you a certain way for a long time. And then your mindset starts to change, and then your thoughts start to change, what your behavior starts to change, the things you're saying starts to change, and that can really make people feel uneasy. And I think
Mm.
it's the changes that people have the hardest time with, making those initial changes and sticking with them, because it's so out of the comfort zone that they've been in for so long.
Mm. And for the person who can't even catch their thought or thoughts, what's step one when someone can't even catch their thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was that moment when I'm listening to myself. And I think that, I know for me, that's what worked. Speaking my thoughts. I'm a
Mhm.
storyteller by my design. That helped me. For each person, it's going to be different. It could be somebody that shows them how they're being in their life,
Mhm.
reflecting to them. Children are great teachers. I can tell you that. My youngest son was the greatest teacher I've ever had. Seeing things like podcasts like this,
Mm.
going to summits that open your eyes when you're looking to go beyond your norm, when you're looking, I think everybody is, what I've seen, everyone's kind of looking. They may be seeking and searching, but they don't even know that they're seeking and searching. And something someone says that they've heard 100 times from someone else will click, And
Mm.
that's the moment that the awareness, it's really about awareness, like we talked about earlier. It's really about that awareness. And I think the other part for people, and I'm thinking because I can't speak for other people, I can only speak for myself, is that when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you start to feel like, what is the point? Like, what am I doing here? What is the point of me being here? Is it just to sit here and suffer like this all the time? And it's not. And for some people, it can be faith that they go to. For other people, it can be coaches that they go to. For other people, it can be YouTube that they go to. It's different for every person, but if you're seeking, it's figuring out what it is for you. For what I do, human design was a huge one for me because I said,
Mhm.
like, it really brought that awareness of, like, I wasn't living my life. And that's why I love having those sessions with people, because it either is a severe confirmation, like, yes, I knew this, I knew this, or it's like mind blown, like, whoa, okay, I had no clue. And now what do I do? I have all this information. What do I do now? Where do I take it? And so that's where I coach people through that process, because I know what that's like. I was in that situation too. I was introduced to it and I'm like, oh, this is really great, but what do I do now? And I didn't feel I really had anybody to work with me on that. And now that's why I do what I do, is I help people with that.
And how do you work with the subconscious loops, especially emotional loops?
Yeah, well, honestly, a lot of it is going to be getting to know the person.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that it has to be this long drawn out process. I mean, you and I had a conversation and we connected, and it's really feeling comfortable with the person you're speaking with. If you're going to choose someone, you decide, I want to coach with somebody. It's not ever because you want clients. It's always because you want to serve, and it has to be in their best interest, and it has to be for their greater good. And they have to feel comfortable, feel connected, feel heard, feel understood. That's what and there has to be, for me, there has to be some sort of point of relation. There has to be something that is like, there's a connection of understanding. And I believe that with human design and my life experiences, that I can relate to a lot of people because I put myself through those things. I chose the path that I chose to be able to help many, many people. And it doesn't have to be women, it can be men as well. It's really who you connect with. And there has to be that connection. And if you're not feeling that, if you don't have that connection, don't do it. And I'm not talking about making a decision in the moment. I'm talking, you may have this where you feel, yeah, yeah, yeah. Give yourself a couple days. Let that emotional wave kind of dissipate a little bit and say, is this still for me? Is this still something that, yeah, yeah, this is a good fit. This is a good fit. And even have a re-meeting again.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are important because that's what we do. We coach people, and it's so important that our clients feel that way. They feel understood and heard, recognized, and getting to the point of the thoughts and all of this. There has to be somebody that can reflect back to you honestly, compassionately, and with kindness. And I feel like there can be a lot of brutal honesty in that, but it doesn't have to be brutal, if you don't, you know what I mean? This the honesty, because I've found a lot of people are so afraid of hurting someone's feelings that they
Mm.
hold back the information or what they're seeing or the reflection. And so when you're working with somebody and you're talking with somebody, or even someone in your family, it could be a relationship you have with somebody, even, you just reflect back to them what you're hearing them say, because sometimes what we hear and what they're saying are two different things. And if you're reflecting back, then they're hearing their words back at them, or what you're hearing them say to you. And then you could be saying, no, 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 that's not what I mean. This is what I mean. And that clears up a lot of confusion as well. And that helps the relationship get stronger.
We are living in a stressful world. So you mentioned stress as a killer and the way the mind convinces we are not safe.
Yeah.
How do you help someone train safety back into the body? And what does safety feel like in the body?
That is, I know that one too. I went through that a lot. Um, what I did for myself personally and what I've done with clients is breath work is one. That is the heart and brain connection, connecting these two. It's called coherence, heart brain coherence. Was it heart math? I think is what it's called. They teach on that and getting back to the breath. That's the one thing we do when we come into this world. And it's the last thing we do before we leave this world is we breathe. And that is life within us. If you're constantly breathing from up here in the chest, you're not getting the full effect. And I was a chest breather literally for most of my life. When I started breathing deeper into my belly and also even in my ribs, like a 360 around here in my body, I started connecting with my body more and feeling that life coming into me and feeling a calm. And there's several different breathing techniques that I use, but breath is definitely the first one. The other one is drinking water, and it seems kind of strange, but it's definitely something that gives life to your body. It also hydrates, it helps your brain with clarity, and it also helps from headaches as well. if I'm if I'm under in water, I will get a headache. I can feel that coming on, and I know that water is the answer. It is my saving grace. So I take water in, and I that doesn't happen very often because I usually drink a gallon a day. But on the off times that it has happened, that's what I do. I know water is the answer for me. And then we move into what we're putting in our bodies. What are we eating? What are we drinking? Are we smoking? Are we doing drugs? Are we drinking alcohol? Are we eating processed foods? All of those things cause severe inflammation and stress in the body. And then we move into movement, getting your body moving. We need to move. We're meant to move. We're not meant to be sitting all of the time watching TV and, eating popcorn or having ice cream or whatever it is that you're doing. We're here to move every day, move with intention. And I'm not saying you have to break out the weights and go through this hard exercise or anything. I'm talking about intentional movement, getting steps in, parking a little further away from the front door of a store, taking the stairs instead of an elevator or an escalator, doing movement that you can incorporate just daily into your life. And then on top of that, even more intentional movement. I love yoga, walking, running, all of those things. There's so many things. You can look up anything for movement. And then we go into the mindset, what you're thinking about. What are you watching on TV? What are you looking at on social media? Are you comparing yourself to the other person that you're seeing on the screen? Is it even real? It could be AI. It might not
Mm,
even be that person. What are you watching? What are you consuming into your mind? If you think about it, before all of this technology, how would we get in touch with one another? Back in the old days, I mean, old days, we would write a letter, or if we were to go to somebody's house, we would trek to get
mm.
there. And it wouldn't be something that, you know, would just happen in a moment unless you were very close neighbors or in family. All right. If you think about all of the emails, the texts, the social media, everything that we're receiving on a consistent basis, billboards and all of that's coming in.
Mm.
Imagine every single thing that you receive knocking at your front door. Your brain would just be overwhelmed beyond belief. And yet we do that to ourselves every single day. Think about that. When was the last time you didn't look at your social media? when was the last time you gave yourself a break? I mean, I know businesses have to do stuff like that, but I'm just talking about like scrolling and doom scrolling, people that I know that do this stuff. And it's like, what are you doing? You're overriding this. Is so no wonder you're in this constant fight or flight. You're just going, that's why we have all these people that are stressed, anxiety, depression. I mean, it's all around. So you really have to look at yourself and what you're doing. Where are you spending your time? What are you putting in your body? All of those things. And if you start to make those changes, that can be stressful because you're like, ah. But I just say one thing at a time. Start with the breath. At least get some breathing because that will get you into an immediate parasympathetic recognition and calm space. But I bring up these other things because I want to bring awareness to the audience that this is what's going on. And
Mm.
we're just so programmed over time to do all of this stuff. We think it's normal and it's just not really normal. It's been gradual over the years to do it. And I really see it. And it really, the part that really makes my heart break is that I'm seeing kids that are in severe addiction to screens. And it's like they're having absolute fits and losing their minds being away from the screen for more than a few hours. And that is just heartbreaking for me.
Mm. You work with people who lack boundaries, especially women with history of abuse. What's the most misunderstood thing about boundaries?
Boundaries, like I said, they think that they're walls and just like you're shutting everyone out. And it's not about shutting everybody out. There may be some people that you need to, I mean, obviously if someone's abusing you, that's a little different. And even family members that can happen. And that may be something that you need to do to protect yourself and be safe, of course. But outside of even that, because trauma can happen and abuse can happen just from family members or relationships or friends or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It can come from anywhere. Culture is another one that a lot of people have cultural abuse that happens. And so when you have those things coming in, recognizing what that is first, how do you put up a boundary if you think it's normal? You know what I mean? If this is your norm, how do you put up a boundary? It's kind of hard to know. If you recognize this isn't normal, putting up the boundaries is for yourself. It's what you're allowing for in your life. Okay, I'm looking at my life and I have at the time my boyfriend who hit me. Someone hits me, they don't like me very much. It's not love, it's power and control. So I got away from that relationship. That was a boundary. However, the abusive behavior is not just that's a physical thing. The abusive behavior is also verbal and emotional as well. And things that happen over time, especially in abuse, is that it doesn't start off, hey, I'm going to hit you. It doesn't start off that way. It starts off with all of this love and then gradually it starts to erode as you are trying to like literally be yourself. And this person doesn't like you and they want you to change and they want you to behave and be what they want you to be. But
Mm.
it's not who you are. So then you're in love and you're like, well, I want to be with this person. So I'm going to make some shifts and changes. And then it's not enough and it's never enough. And then there can be, for women especially, there can be some body shaming that comes into play. Especially if they know your weaknesses, they
Mm.
know that's a trigger. They will use triggers. They will use those triggers to bring down that confidence. And I had been told in the past that I'm very intimidating. Now my husband says you're not intimidating. It's that they're insecure. And I thought it was me all of the time. I being myself was too much. It wasn't too much. It just wasn't comfortable for other people. And so it's really seeing the differences of what's really going on here. What do I want to allow for? So my husband, he's not intimidated by me. He champions me. He supports me as I support him. It's both of us. It's back and forth. It's a reciprocal relationship. It's not one-sided. So it's what you allow for in your life. Who do you want in your life? Does it is this person adding value to your life, or is this person draining everything out of you, and you're not really yourself? You're just the shell on the outside, but who you are is crumpled so small inside that it's barely even a heartbeat there anymore. It's really looking at all of these things. It's not easy. I can tell you that it's not an easy thing when you're in it, but when you see it, then you have the power to make a change. And then it's up to you to make that change.
Yeah, a lot of time I saw that I don't want some things, but it's hard to me to set boundaries just verbally to set something.
Yeah.
Could you give me three examples of boundary sentences someone can literally use today?
Oh, definitely. So, okay, this is another thing. People like want an answer immediately, right? You don't always have the answer immediately. It's
Yeah.
let me get back to you. Let me get back to you on that. That is not saying no. It's saying, I will get back to you on that. But it's giving yourself the time to recognize, is this something I truly desire? Is this something I really want in
Mm,
my life? Whatever it is. It could be anything. That is probably one of the biggest ones. The other one that is a boundary is a simple no.
mhm,
No is a complete sentence. And a lot of people struggle with, for one, saying no, and other people have a hard time too accepting no, because no, well, why not? They want an explanation for
mm,
all of the reasons why you're not going to do it. And sometimes no is just enough. And you don't have to explain everything, because explaining, especially to someone that you've had a tough relationship with, is where the manipulation can come in and try to reverse that no into what they desire the outcome to be, which would be yes. So that no is a complete sentence, and that's definitely a powerful word, and it's rarely used by itself. There's always no, and this is the reason why. We feel obligated to share that. Um, and then another one that I'm thinking about is not right now,
mm,
because it might not be right now. It could be later. It could be never, but it's not right now.
mm,
And that sounds, let me get back to you, but it's not. It's different. It's like, not right now. Because you're not saying no. You're just saying, not right now. It may not be a right feel. And for some people, they'll feel that right away. They'll like, not right now. But this could be something I want to look at later. And I've had that happen. I've had that happen to myself, that it was not right now, and it was later.
mm,
And because I made that decision, I was in a better place later on to be a yes in that decision. So those are probably the three, let me get back to
mhm.
you, no, and not right now.
Great, great, great. Yeah, I need time to think before I respond. I need some time. I can't tell you right now.
Right. And that's for some people know immediately. Some people need some time. Some people, like I said, it's not right now, and that's okay. And it's really, I think, the reason why we don't always say those things is because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to disrupt, you know, the flow or the continuity or whatever, whatever, what is it, the harmony of the moment or whatever. You just don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. And I think that's really what I've seen. People, they don't want confrontation.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why they have weak boundaries, is because of confrontation. And the thing that you do is that you end up really doing a disservice to yourself, but you're doing a disservice to the person that you're saying yes to because you're not being honest with them. You're actually lying. And that's hard truth to accept too, is that you're lying to them. And if you're convincing yourself, then you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And the fitting in has the cost. And we also touched the culture, how we are molded by our environment, the morphic field. How do you know if a behavior is truly you or just conditioning?
Isn't everything conditioning? If you think about it, how
Yeah,
you're raised, right? How are you
yeah,
raised?
we are programmed. We are programmed
We are.
from the
So,
beginning
right,
in
exactly.
everything.
You got it. We were a blank slate when we come in, and then it's like, boom, you're given all this stuff. So, honestly, the human design thing helps a little bit. It does help a little bit. I will agree with that because it really helped clear a lot of things up for me. And I think it's over time. You, as you get older, you gain wisdom from your experiences as well. And your body will know if it really is. You'll feel it in your body first, more than anything. When someone says something, your body will react like that, or like whatever it is, excitement or fear or whatever. So your body is going to react first. That reaction can be programmed too. We have
Mm.
that limbic mind because our safety, like you talked about earlier, our safety is like the most important thing. That's how we want to be safe. So how do we do that? How do we bring ourselves to that safety piece? And it's really holding those boundaries. Yep. But all of this stuff, our programming.
I mean, DNA is
Yeah,
programmed.
I know. That's a program, right? So it's like, okay, aside from the DNA programming, what we've taken in, I think as we grow older and we learn over time what feels real for us, what feels good in the body for us. So for me, when I was younger, I was eating key lime pies and lemon meringue pies and subs and pizzas. And my body was screaming at me. I was 215 pounds. I had high blood pressure. I couldn't breathe. All of these things because of what I was putting. I'm just using food because it's so easy. What I was putting in my body. My body was telling me, no, 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 no. Even alcohol
Mm.
too. No, you get sick, you're throwing up, you get the headaches, hangovers. No, like stop. And so the body will tell you it's the first indicator of what's going on. And if it doesn't feel good, then that's a good thing. Now, we know some things aren't going to feel good also because we have a comfort zone. So there's has to be a differentiation too. It's knowing what is good for yourself and what is not good for yourself. And that comes with knowing thyself. And there we go back to how do you get there? And it's really a dance with life. It's a dance with yourself. It's a dance with knowledge and awareness. It's all of this mind, body, spirit coming into an alignment and understanding. It's really not just a one quick fix. And that's the thing that I teach people. If you're looking for a quick fix, then go on a 1,200 calorie diet and stop in 90 days, gain the weight back, and then your fix is done. That's a quick fix, whatever it is, 30 days, 15 days. Life is not about quick fixes, it's about a journey, it is about experiences. And what you've been going through your whole entire life is not going to get shifted and changed in a day, in a moment. Everything is going to just fall into line and be because we're deep, complex individuals. You may have a realization in a moment, something that really like, wow, blows your mind. And then you can build off of that. But that programming is something we were born with, is something that we learn what feels right for us. Do we feel safe with our choices? Do you trust yourself? Because we've been doing things against who we truly are for a long time. So we don't trust ourselves so much. And it's really coming back to actually trusting your choices. Like, do I trust myself? And a lot of people turn to faith for that, which is fine. I mean, everybody's different and everybody's journey is different. So it's not a one size fits all. We're all individuals.
Yeah, definitely. But I want to bring the body into this because for me, the big someone who feels also disconnected, what's the most practical way to return to the body? Breathe, movement, cold showers, maybe walking, because we are going back into the moment, right? And what if someone says, "I don't feel anything"?
Numbness.
Mm,
I've been there too.
mm,
It's that's a disassociation, and there may be some therapy that needs to be involved in that. That's beyond the scope of coaching, obviously, and
okay.
that is when you're in apathy and you don't care, and depression and things like that, or numbness. And I have seen that. Um, I always recommend talk to the therapist, but I also coach as well through that, and will work with others because again, it's not a one thing, one size fits all, a quick fix or anything like that. This is a journey of your life. And that body, if you're feeling completely numb, a lot of people, they do things to feel things. They use drugs, they use alcohol, they'll cut, they'll do um very risky behavior type of things. Now, does this mean that they've got some mental condition? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's just that they are so disconnected because of whatever has gone on in their life that they can't handle what's
Mm,
happening presently. That's where the therapy comes in. I don't want to label anybody because they're going through something, because I believe labels can be very harmful too for people. If they like have a diagnosis or a label, then they're like, oh, that's going to fix it. Now I can take drugs and then I'm all set. But we're not really getting to the root cause of what's really going on here. All we're doing is masking stuff, unless
mhm.
it's something very specific. But for the most part, generally speaking, that's what I've seen. It's we're masking things instead of really getting to the root of what's going on. And getting to the root of what's going on, it takes vulnerability, it takes honesty, and it takes an open, willing to be open, to want to change that, and a willingness to be open to see it
Mm.
and to work on yourself. You're with yourself 24/7. Why don't you invest in the person you're with the most? Why is the person that you're with the most your enemy? Shouldn't be that way. Should be your best friend. You're with yourself all the time.
Yeah. And I can see in myself first, but in a lot of founders, athletes, high performers, we are living in the head. We call it productivity, but it's often dissociation.
Mm.
And we touch we touched human design. Some people
Yes.
love it, some people think it's just labels. How do
Mhm.
you use it as a tool for liberation, not identity attachment?
Oh, I love this one. Yes. So, because you could take it or leave it for one. If you want to accept it, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can use it as a simple tool, like we use to build our muscles. We use weights. We use different types of weights. We use different levels of weights. We can use different types of protein powders, whatever. So you can use this as a tool. It doesn't have to be, I'm living my life just this way and, like a robot. I'm going to do this because I'm told to.
Hmm.
It's not about that. It's about what feels right. If it feels right for you, if it really connects, because some people it connects with, some people it may not connect with, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But once you have the information, you have the choice to do with it what you want. And for me, when I received the information first in 2014, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. It's really what I thought. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. But it wasn't until 4 years later that I realized that I wasn't living it. And I was still in this disharmony and this dissonance, and I didn't understand why. So then I started digging in a little deeper instead of just the surface, simple stuff. I started really investigating and getting into it deeper. And then I thought, well, if I do this, how will this change things? And then I did my husband's, and that's where I saw the change personally. When I
Hmm.
understood how he was, I started seeing him in a different way I'd not seen him before, respecting his needs as well as my own. And our marriage flourished because of it. So I have that living experience. But for other people, you are at choice always. You can either take it or leave it. It's up to you always. And it may not be right now. No, not right now. Might be later. It might be a no completely. Or let me think about it. Let me think about it. No, not right now. Because that's how it was for me was no, not right now. And I had to think about it too. There's a few of those going, a couple of those in there out of the three.
Uh, I will ask just two quick questions for my human design.
Sure.
Uh, what's the most powerful insight you see with 2-4 profiles?
Two fours. Okay. Those lines are dissonant. So that means that they're counterintuitive.
Hmm.
A two is a hermit. A four is an opportunist. Don't like the word because it sounds kind of dirty and icky, but it's not. I'll explain what it is. Hermit is obvious. We like to be alone, be in the shell. Opportunist is actually about foundations, relationships, and communities and building those and having the strong foundations built. That's why I speak a lot about foundations because I'm a 2-4 as well. So that really makes sense to me that I love to build foundations and help others. And also in my incarnation cross, that's part of it too. It's community. So if you are 2-4, your dissonant numbers, it's finding the balance between the two. There's times you're going to need to be alone, and then there's times you want to be around a bunch of people and have a great time and be in the community and build those relationships. And if you're someone that is like that, it's also understanding that if you have a relationship or relationships in your life, if they understand that it's not a personal thing that you want to be alone, it's not like I'm trying to get away from you. It's just, I need a little time to decompress. I need a little time to relax and just kind of be with myself. And it sounds weird, but that is just sometimes necessary in life for the two specifically. And also, sleeping is another
Hmm.
thing that can be challenging, is that typically I have found the twos like to wrap themselves up in blankets and be all snuggly. And so if you're with somebody, that can be a little like my husband calls it the cocoon. That because I'm a 2-4 as well, that I like to be cocooned up, but I learned over time that I can have a little bit of the best of both worlds. I put a extra blanket on me because I like the weight, it feels good and snuggly, but yet I'm not completely cut off from my spouse.
Cool.
So that's that. And then the four is opportunities happen because you're gonna, if you're, it depends on your type. We're not gonna get into the types, but opportunities will come to you. So it also has to feel right for you. And when you have those opportunities come to you, uh, it's up to you whether how you want to approach it, how you want to figure it out. And like with the four part of it
Hmm.
being the foundation stuff. Is this something that has a strong foundation or do I need to build a foundation? That's another
Yeah,
part of it.
I'm generator.
Okay, so you're a generator. So it has to be that's the sacral response, but do you have emotional authority? So
Yeah.
we talk about that. So if you have emotional authority, then emotional authority trumps the sacral. They work together more hand in hand. So emotional authority is you have waves that are up and down with your emotions. And that's not a bad thing. It's just you have a little bit of an emotional wave. 50% of the population have that. That's just
Hmm.
normal. So, and so many people like, oh, you must have this problem or this label or that label because it's like, no, I have emotional authority. I feel stuff. I have emotions, but then I might not feel it in a couple of days. That's where it's, let me get back to you is your power sentence. Because when you do that, it allows yourself to ride that emotional wave. So some people, it could be a few days. For some people, it could be weeks. And a lot of us don't have weeks necessarily to do that in the scope because we have other people to consider in time. But at least a few days to give yourself that time is important. And then your sacral, you talked about that. It'd be like this, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that feels really good. Like you know in your gut, it's like trusting your gut. And a lot of people are cut off from that have that are the generators and the manifesting generators. So the thing that's really exciting is to have people ask you yes or no questions to get that sacral response activated where you're like, mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-mm, mm-mm. We've been told, I was told actually as a child that that's rude. Is yes or no, but you can say uh-huh or uh-uh because if you
Mm.
are in a room of people, you hear this buzzing sound going on. Those are generators, manifesting generators making noise. We make noise too. My husband's like, you make noise when you eat. Like I do. I don't even notice I make noise, and I'm sitting there. It's part of what we do. So, yeah, it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah, for me, the biggest win was realizing I'm not broken for needing time. If I decide too
Mm,
fast, I betray myself most of
mm.
the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Unless you're like, because sometimes that emotional authority is there, but that gut is like right there. So it's like emotional authority, yes, but the gut is saying yes. Am I going to feel this in a couple days? Because there's some things that might not. There's some things, if it's a hell yeah, you're like, okay, yeah, this is good. This feels so good. So you have to. You're really doing the dance, a little bit of the balance.
one of the deepest parts of our pre-call was relationships,
Mhm.
expectations, needing the partner to fulfill you, and how that creates pain.
Yeah,
How do you know you crossed the line from love into dependency? Or what are the early signs of emotional outsourcing?
yeah. Um, when and it doesn't have to be a spouse, it can be a child where you're living for them
Hmm.
and you don't have your own identity. And that was the big thing about my relationship with my husband is that he has his own identity, I have my own identity, and then we're also a married couple too. We keep our own things. We He has certain things that he likes to do, I have certain things that I like to do. And if you're constantly compromising in a way that you've abandoned the things like when you were alone before you're with somebody, even with children, that you're completely abandoning that part of you and all of your hopes and dreams are in another person and that you're looking to them to make you happy. No one can make you happy, by the way. You have to, that's a state of mind, by the way. It's up here. That's your choice. Um, that's when you know. And you're willing to literally just push yourself to the side and do for others. And a lot of caregivers are like that. They're constantly caring for everyone else but themselves. And that can be a huge identity for a lot of people that they're so wrapped up in caring for everybody else that they don't pay attention to themselves because they choose not to. They don't want to see themselves. It's everything external that's affecting their life. And it's all of these situations. So a lot of people actually bring situations without, it's a subconscious thing. They'll bring these situations into their lives where they're caring for people so they don't have to literally see themselves. Because when you're alone and there's no one else to blame and there's no one else around, then you have to see who you are. You're forced to see it because there's no one else to turn to or look to. And it is very unhealthy to do that. I used to feel like I couldn't live without my son's father. I thought I was going to die, all of these things. And that's a very unhealthy relationship. Um, you, it shouldn't be a need. It should be, I want to be with this person. I desire this person. This is my person. It's not like I need you. I can't live without you. That's when we get into codependence or dependence because
Mm.
codependence is both, it could be just one-sided, a severe dependence on another. I mean, there's so much more, but that's just like a little bit of examples for you.
Yeah, I saw that in myself. When my needs aren't met, I collapse emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Uh, And can you tell me what does self-romance, self-care look like without it becoming narcissism?
Yes. Oh, I know, right? Um, so I had this situation where I'm like, I want more romance, and my husband and I were building this business, and we're in we work together all the time, and I'm like, I want romance, and I thought, well, you know, having this expectation on him to bring romance is it's kind of like the typical, well, the man's supposed to be romantic and does takes the lead and does all this stuff, and I thought, well, I can do that for myself because I used to do it before. I used to buy flowers for myself when I lived alone. I was a single mom. I used to do that. And so I went and got some flowers and I brought them home and I shared them because I'm sharing the space. So I'm sharing them with my husband. So it makes the space more romantic.
Mm.
And I think often we're looking for others to fulfill those needs of like romance and things like that. And it's okay to love yourself without like loving your narcissism is different. So narcissism is when other people are an extension of you and they're like not themselves. You see them as they're there to serve you. They're there to, take care of you and that's it. That's the only thing that they're there for is your every need and whim. That's more narcissistic. And
Mhm.
the love bombing comes in to manipulate to get you to do those things. And then, oh, you're so wonderful. You're so wonderful. And I just love you so much. And this. But then when you don't live up, then it's like all of this. Well, why did you do this? It comes down on you, and then you're trash, and it's like, what's going on here? So this is crazy back and forth stuff. But when it's not that, and especially with yourself, like you said, self love simply is just literally taking care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, you're breathing, you're drinking your water, you're nourishing your body, you're moving with intention daily, and your mind is clear because you've taken the time to do that. And I think of that as like a morning and evening routine. Then you can be what you need to be for everyone else around you because you're full, overflowing, actually. You're overflowing, and the overflow is what gives to others. If you just think, I got my cup full, then you're full, but were you able to give to others and have that impact they'll come in? So it's really about an overflow of love, of kindness, of joy, of relationship, a partnership, whatever it is, and have it overflow so that impacts everyone around you. And it's something that you're not in depletion mode. You're not taking and needing and siphoning from others. You're actually fulfilled and overflowed to give to others as well. So that's where time for yourself, like you, that which is really important, that comes into play so you can show up and be fulfilled and overflowing for others. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Uh, yeah, you said something I loved, the friendship first.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
uh, friendship makes a stable foundation for intimacy, and
Yeah.
then build intimacy with someone without losing yourself.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I want to talk about your mission right now. You shared a vision that deserves its own spotlight.
Mm.
Uh, Divi suits safe spaces with dignity, wellness, and restoration. Where did that vision come from, and what would it change for women?
So like I mentioned, I was in a domestic violence situation. And when I was in that situation that I put myself in, I ended up in a shelter. Um, I was 8.5 months pregnant, living in a shelter. I had one room. We all shared a bathroom. We all shared a community space and the kitchen and all that stuff. We took turns cooking and cleaning all that. Now, that was a saving grace for me. I was very grateful for that. I was out of there in a month and a half, which was unusual. A lot of people were there for like 8, 9 months or longer. But what I found was lacking was the safety. so to speak, because things were stolen from me in my room. Something that was very important to me that my father had given me was stolen. It was a ring that he gave me. And so my vision really came into play when a friend of mine was in a situation where her kids were taken from her, and she was living with this person and staying here on this couch, and ended up in shelter, and they're all in bunk beds and not able to sleep because this person's loud, and all of these things, these situations, in the way that, and it's, I mean, the gratitude is there that the person had a place to be. I mean, I get that, but a little bit of dignity is lost in that when you are living out of a plastic bag and you have to be out at a certain time and you can come back at a certain time and you have to share the showers and all of these things. A little bit of dignity is taken away. And where, how are you eating? Are you able to like feed yourself well? And you're out on the out on the street from this time to this time, so I have to go buy food, and it's not going to necessarily be something, I don't have a place to go necessarily. You may not have family or whatever. So I really saw a need for these suites, domestic violence suites, where they have a place to go that is their own space. It's like almost like a little mini studio, but it has a room. So it's like the one bedroom, but it's not huge and big, but it's a space for them. And it even has a little kitchenette, and it has a their own shower, and they have a place that they can cook food and all of that, have all that stuff. And it's to my goal is really for single women, because I find that families with women that have custody of their children, they typically will be able to find housing a little easier. But if you're in a situation like this woman was, where she didn't have custody of her kids, so you're on your own, and it's like, what do you do? And this is somebody that wants to do well in their world. And they are working hard to make life better. So that's why I came up with this idea. And the goal is to have them live there, be safe, have a wellness center, a place that they can go and have community as well. And then if they decide that they want to stay there after they've got back up on their feet, all of that, they can pay to live there if they so choose, or they can leave and we help them get set up on the outside. That is a huge goal, because I had a little bit of that when I was in the shelter I was in. I had people in there that were talking with me, that were helping me with my finances, which was awesome. They helped me to have a lot of hope. They helped me find a place to be able to apply to housing authorities at the time. All of these things being like that was great for me. But for a woman that is doesn't have her kid, you don't get that. You're not getting that kind of support, and that kind you're just kind of, like I said, you're floundering on your own. And so that's where the DV suites came in. I know it's a very long explanation, but it's so deep in my soul and in my heart that I want to make it really clear as to where it really came from. So, and I appreciate you asking me that.
And if somebody feels they want to support you and support that vision today, how can they support?
Well, just reach out to me.
Okay,
Just
okay.
email me is the best way. This is something that myself and another person have a deep passion about, that we are in the process of putting things together right now.
Mhm.
We're looking at a plan, a 5-year plan, because this is not something that's just like done in a week. It has to be planned out. So it takes time, and I'm open for that. This is a dream that will happen, and it is a need, and I want to start it in the state that I'm in presently, and then move out from there, and maybe even have it be global someday, because I feel that, I see so many people that are homeless, and it's like, I've been there. I've been homeless as well. I lived in a car when I was pregnant with my child. I know what it's like to be homeless. I understand it. It's one thing being in a shelter, you have that, a place to live. But when you're living either in your car or you're on the street, that's homelessness. And it is so hard. And when you have someone that lends a helping hand, that one moment can change the trajectory of your life. And that's what happened with me. I was living in my car. I was homeless. I was pregnant with my son. And a police officer said, "You can't stay here." And I said, "I'm homeless. I used to live in this building," because I was parking in my old building lot. And he said, "Hey, let's go over." And he got me a coffee and a muffin. This was when I used to have that at the time. And he just said, "It's going to be okay. You know, what are you going to do?" And he really helped me to kind of think about, like, what am I going to do? I can't live in my car forever. And he was just so kind to me. And I ended up seeing that police officer years later, and my son was born and all this stuff. And I was actually ended up working at the coffee shop he took me at. And that it was just so cool to see him, to be like, "Hey, things are great. Awesome. I'm in school," and just to be able to share, like, that person made a difference in my life. And it changed because I had kindness. And that's like one of my big motivators, is kindness to people. I just, when I see the homelessness, it's just like, oh, whew, it makes my eyes well up and my voice cracks. It's just, it's hard to see it because I've been in it and I know what it's like. I literally was grateful that I had a car. I wasn't completely in the elements, so I did have that.
If someone is listening right now and they feel stuck, mind prison, emotional prison, what's the first decision they can make today?
You don't have to stay there, literally. And I think it's awareness, like we talked about. They're going to see this, so it's like you don't have to be stuck in there anymore. And you it's like you have free will, right? We're told we have free will and we can, do whatever we want and be whoever we want. And we lose that as we get older. We're told this as children and we lose it. I mean, a lot of us are. I shouldn't say everybody is, but most people are told you can be whatever you want and do whatever you want. It is true. And it's seeing that you have that power within you to do that. It's literally a choice. You're one decision away from a completely different life if you so choose. And I tell clients that because really it is the power. It's breaking all of this noise down. One thing that I heard Kevin O'Leary talk about, and this is in business, but you can put this into practice in life, is that you can have 3 goals a day. And those 3 goals are your primary focus. Anything outside of those goals is just noise, and it's distracting you from your goals. This isn't about rigidity and being rigid, like, I got to do these goals. It's not about that. It's about what you want to do. He was specifically talking in business. How will I work in my business today? So how will I work in my life today? What are the 3 most important things that I need to do? And anything outside of that is noise and will distract you. We're talking notifications, social media, other people. If you have those 3 goals and you accomplish them, you're one step closer to where you want to be. And it's 3 things. And it doesn't have to be these monumental, huge things. It can be as simple as, like, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock tonight. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. But if that's a goal because you need rest and your body is just screaming at you because you haven't been resting and getting what it needs, and you achieve that, that builds. And then you could do it the next time and the next time. And goals can change from day to day. And I started practicing that, and I felt so accomplished. Like, I didn't allow all the noise around me to take me off my focus for what I needed to do. And I had some pretty big goals that I had to get done this week. And they got stopped in my tracks because it was a program that was I was uploading a video to, and it cut in the process. And I had to have it in at a certain time, and it wasn't going to happen. So I contacted the person. So that was a goal I had. I did I did record it, but I didn't consider the processing part. And that part of it was important. but it got done. That was my goal the next day, is to make sure that regardless if that program doesn't end up working, I'll move into something else. So that was my goal the next day. And I completed that goal. And I felt like, oh, so relieved
Mm.
and so accomplished. And I felt I showed up. I did what I said I was going to do. I was responsible, and it wasn't using excuses. It was informing and letting that person know, hey, this is what they're like, don't worry about it. I'll extend it. And just that kindness and that grace. But it's informing that situation. That goal was like so important to me, and I got it done. But it didn't turn out the way I expected. So did I have attachment to the outcome of how it was going to happen? Ooh, I did it first, but then I didn't. I couldn't. I was forced to, what are you going to do now? Are you going to sit here and be all upset about it all night and not be able to sleep? And I said, no, I'm just letting it go. I woke up the next morning and everything was fine. And I
Mm.
slept very well that night because I didn't hang on and let my brain go, what's going on? Because I don't have control over it. So if I don't have control over the situation, does that situation own me? Am I the cause of the effect? Right? Am I going to be, it's going to work out and know that it will? Because one way or another, it would have, whether it was that process or it was something else that I had as a backup, it was going to work out. Very powerful. Even as a coach, we're challenged. I mean, we go through it too. It's not, we don't have it. Everything is not all, hearts and unicorns over here. We have challenges in our lives just as for each person, but it's how we go through those challenges, how we respond. Do we react or do we respond to them? And there was breathing involved.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree. I heard about these three things from O'Leary. It's not a big, but it's three. It's achievable. I
Yeah.
think he learned this when he worked for Steve Jobs.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw that. Great. Oh, so you knew exactly what I was talking about. Amazing. Yeah.
Uh, the last question. Where can people find you, your program, and your work?
Okay, so you can find me I'm on all the socials, Instagram, YouTube, and I'll provide the links so people can do that. And also email is another one. And I have a summit that I'm actually going to be speaking at, and it's going to be on boundaries and human design. So I'm really excited about that. And I can give you the information for that as well. Love to have anyone attend that. It is going to be a very powerful summit. It's not just me speaking, there's quite a few speakers there. And like I said, email is the other way you can do it. And I have my website, which is awakentoyourpower.com, and our other website, which is wellnessrising.net. Those are the two that I have.
Nikilette, thank you for being my guest on Coach Approach. This was real lived wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marko. It's an honor. Thank you.
Elevate yourself. Empower others. Welcome to Coach Approach Podcast.